Hey everybody, this is Bridgit Danner from Hormone Detox Shop, and it is March, which is a thyroid themed month here at Hormone Detox Shop. So we're really focusing on supporting the thyroid and just learning all about the thyroid, just a well-rounded view of it. So today's little mini lesson is on one aspect that you could be wondering about, which is what's the best diet for thyroid. And particularly today, I'm going to focus in on the Autoimmune Paleo Diet, which has been around, 5 years, more than maybe 10 years. So we'll talk about what that is and do I recommend that for a thyroid condition or not. You may be a little surprised, so stay tuned. Autoimmune Paleo Diet is first of all based on the regular paleo diet, which is kind of meant to be based on a hunter-gatherer type background that is like part of our long-term history. So we were eating meats and organ meats and maybe collecting eggs, eating, berries and vegetables and just anything that was found. So there was hunting, there was gathering, there was a lot of variety in the diet. There is not dairy on the diet and there is not grain on the diet, generally speaking, because those are part of farming, right? And that's not a paleo lifestyle. So I think this is a great template for a diet because you're avoiding a lot of processed foods. You're avoiding dairy, which has become a very processed food nowadays. It's, pretty much always pasteurized, so it changes the shape of the protein and makes it hard to digest. Many of us have a hard time digesting dairy, as we age. It's a very addictive food. It can be moldy. So generally, I avoid dairy as well. I also mostly avoid grain, but I do have some rice. Trying to think. There aren't a lot of grains that I have, but I have some gluten-free pasta and stuff sometimes just to keep it interesting or in my life, but I'm digressing. So that's paleo. When we add on autoimmune paleo, we are being a little more restrictive with the diet. And the purpose is to reduce chances of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, that is causing inflammation in the gut and probably, related to causing leaky gut. So when you have an autoimmune condition, usually you have leaky gut and you have toxins and not fully digested particles passing through to the bloodstream where your liver and your immune system have to deal with it. And that's not a good scenario for autoimmunity. You want to avoid that. So this diet is basically meant to just reduce all that inflammation and irritation in the gut, which in theory is a great idea. However, as you're going to hear, it's pretty restrictive. So I would say, yes, you can do this diet or can think about this diet if you are really ripped up, you're ton of food sensitivities, your gut is hurting a lot, maybe you just found out you have a high autoimmune antibodies and things are pretty out of control. You might want to do this diet for a while. Other things you take out are nightshades, which include tomato, potato, eggplant, peppers, all grains, being more strict about grains, all beans, no coffee, no eggs, no nuts and seeds, and then no alcohol, and then avoiding processed foods. So some of those, I don't really have a problem with, but nuts and seeds have a ton of nutrition. They also have some anti-nutrients that can make them hard to digest, but you can soak them, you can have them raw, you can have them in smoothies. Beans get a bad rap nowadays. They can be kind of gas producing and have these anti-nutrients, but they can also be prepared correctly. They have a lot of fiber and nutrients. So, potatoes, especially, I'm not sure if sweet potatoes count as a nightshade or not, but just having that group of nightshades adds some diversity to your diet. But you may want to take them out for a month and see if your inflammation increases. So I generally do not put people on this diet because my goal is to let them have a more diverse diet. A more diverse diet feeds more diverse bacteria in your gut, which is what we want. Nobody wants to go out to a restaurant and you can barely eat anything. Nobody wants that. We all want to eat more things. So that's what we work towards, but we have to work with the person in front of us. And again, if a person is super sensitive or having a ton of bloating, I'm probably not going to tell them to add a bunch of nuts and beans yet. I'm going to have them like work up to that. So maybe they do try this for a month, or maybe they do a low FODMAP diet for a month. That can reduce a lot of bloating if that's your problem. Or if you want to just like, not obsess about this, or this sounds too intimidating, just go paleo. Just eat whole foods. Just cook your own food. Have a lot of broth. If you're having IBS, you often have a lot of irritation. So I would increase digestive enzymes like always. Maybe increase HCl. It's a stomach acid supplement, because if you have a low thyroid, you often need more stomach acid. And then eat things that are like easier to digest. Like maybe you're eating, squash soup, you're making stews for yourself. Maybe you have a little raw food like sprouts or a little salad, but you have it with vinegar. You're just not like challenging yourself. You're kind of helping your digestion. So I would focus more on that than paleo autoimmune, and I would focus on sooner than later getting in more diversity again. You can have a little fermented food. You could have just like a couple spoonfuls of lentils. You don't need a ton. You could go to a salad bar and get like little bits of things to try to increase your diversity. But move it in slowly and support your digestion at the same time. Going back to the thyroid does not like dairy, does not like soy, does not like a lot of sugar. Those are a few, gluten, there's a few big trigger foods, and mostly you're gonna miss those if you just kind of go paleo. If you're a vegetarian, it's a little bit different conversation, but it's still similar like goals here. So I hope that helps. If you have any commentary on how Autoimmune Paleo worked for you, if you liked it. I know clients have come to me saying, somebody told me to do that and it's way too hard. So I don't just do it to make people happy. I do it because I think it is pretty restrictive. So it's just for like extreme cases. But mostly I try to let you have diversity, let you have more foods. Your body will generally tell you what foods it doesn't tolerate. And we can evaluate based on what your body is telling you. So hope that helps everybody. If you have other questions for me this thyroid month that you'd like me to answer, just send them to me direct message or put them in the comments, and I will be answering your questions so that you finish this month having a better idea about thyroid health.